Hey guys, Morgan's Maintenance. Today's tool review is going to be an M12 fuel tool, and this is their detail sander. Part number on that is 2531-20. I recently had a tool haul video where I talked about picking up the M12 grease gun on deal of the day. I got it for like $109 with a free battery, and in that video I talked about I already ordered another tool, hadn't got it yet, and I told people to guess down below, and Anthony Lerza, he was the one that guessed the M12 detail sander, and that is what I picked up. So I got this on sale. Normal price is $149. If they don't have any kind of deal going on, I'm pretty sure that's the price anyways. I ended up getting mine for $129, which is only 20 bucks less, but I also got another free 2.5 amp hour battery, and I really like these batteries, so I went ahead and decided to pick it up. And I've actually been wanting it for quite some time. Is it a tool that I absolutely had to have? Probably not, but we're going to see here in just a little bit whenever I put it into action and show you what it does compared to this, because normally you can run just an oscillating tool. We all have these typically, and if you don't have an oscillating tool by now, you need to get one. It's one of the most useful tools that you can possibly own. Well, they sell a sandpaper head that you can put on there and then use sandpaper with those. Again, whether you've got the older non-fuel version or the fuel version or any other brand oscillating tool, you can do that. But this is different than those, and it's obviously for different reasons that I wanted to use this, because it's got several features on it that to me puts it above one of those. And I'm going to go over the features of this, and then I'm going to show you a comparison of sanding some rough boards with this versus that. You can make the decision for yourself if it's worth it. If you do very much fine sanding of things like that, you might want to look into getting this, or maybe the oscillating tool sander is good enough for you and you've already got that tool. Hopefully I can help you make that decision, but let's go ahead and get into the features. So again, checking out that box, 2531-20 is the part number. They are claiming faster detail sanding, stain grade finish, more excess in contours and corners. And again, I got the tool only, as you can see there, battery charger not included, even though I got that free battery. What does it include? It shows here it includes the sander and then 9 mesh sheets, but you actually get a little bit more than that. And I was actually wondering if I was going to get one of these products because I was really wanting to try that out. It's one of the reasons why I got this. And so again, you're going to get the sander itself. You also get an extra pad here to put over your plate to kind of protect the Velcro on that, so that whenever you add your sanding sheets and things like that to this and you take them on and off, you're not damaging this as much, just to save from the pulling in and out. And then they also include 9 sheets of sandpaper. It is that Power Grid tear resistant mesh from Milwaukee. They offer it in 80, 120, 150, 180, 220, 320, and 400 that you can buy these in. They give you 3 sheets of 80, 3 sheets of the 120, and then 3 sheets of the 180. That's what you get within this. And then another thing that you get is this sponge. This was one of the things that I wasn't sure if it would come with it, because again, it didn't say it on the box, but it does say that it comes with, or it did come with one. And this is something that allows you to basically contour. If you put this on your sander, it allows for you to go around something that's maybe rounded, like a chair rail or something like that, kind of get to where you're going over those edges in a different way. Even an edge of a board, it contours to it, so that's something that's pretty useful. This is something I definitely wanted to try out, so that's one of the things that you also get with it. And then of course you're going to get the wrench that comes with it, so that if I didn't have this on there, if I need to replace this at some time, you just take this out and swap out your backing pad. They sell these separate as well. So that's what you're kind of getting in the box. That's what some of the claims are. If I do turn this on, put a battery into it, and you can see if I run that, fairly quiet, versus that if I put a battery into the oscillating tool and turn that on. That's quite a bit louder in my opinion, so that's another reason why I kind of wanted to go with this. This does have 4 different speeds on it. See if I can get it to where it lights up. I'm on number 1 there. 2, 3. So it is variable speed, even though like you can do that on these as well by changing the speed, whether again it's the fuel or the original. So you have that option. And then it did say it did have a claim of more access in corners and contours. And the reason why is if you look at this triangle head, you can look at the difference of that. it's going to be easier for me to get this especially up against something that's a straight edge, or turn it and go into it like that, versus this size right here. This is more of an angle. I'm not going to have as many flat edges to get into somewhere and rub across that whole entire thing. And then of course the contours comes in, because you can put a sponge pad on it and kind of contour an edge a little bit different than what you can with something that's just straight. So again, that's the key differences to me, is just the size overall. It is a shorter tool because this is with the battery in it. It's still shorter than the oscillating tool. Again, whether you have the fuel or the original, it's smaller than both of those with a battery inside of it, even with those not having a battery. And again, you get the variable speed, you get the little bit quieter tool. It also includes the light right there, as you can see, and then the more access and the more spaces that you can get it into. And I just kind of like this mesh pad, even though I could cut some of this and put it on any of these if I really wanted to. You can still put that on these kind of pads as well, but it's the size, the weight, the speeds, the sound. To me, this is just meant to be a sander. I'm going to use this a lot on door trims and things like that, where I install a lot of doors, but then I also caulk and putty and finish my nail holes and all those things, because sometimes I end up painting as well, or I do it because I'm doing it and then the painters come in behind me and paint, whatever it might be. That's more so what I'm going to use this for. But again, just for anything, if you do a lot of sanding, you might want to actually get a sander. And because overall the biggest difference of this is going to be that it is an orbital action, and I don't know that you'll ever be able to really probably see that, but the oscillating tool is more just left and right. So maybe you can see kind of what that's doing. I don't know if you can or not, if you'll be able to visually see that, versus again, if I go with the oscillating tool and I turn this on, it's more just going left and right. Again, probably won't be able to see that, but I don't think there's near as much movement on that. And again, that's one of the things that they're mentioning with that stain grade finish. You can even see that it has Milwaukee orbital detail sander, the fact that it's going into orbital action, and then it says competitor or oscillating multi-tool, just left and right. That's going to be the difference between those. So let me go ahead and I'll set up this cedar block here that I've got that's extremely rough. I'm going to put on the 80 grit on both of these tools. I'm probably going to go with the fuel, just so that we're fuel against fuel. We'll sand them for a few seconds or so, and I'll let you see the difference between the two. So I've got some rough cedar right here. This is a section of a post that I cut off whenever I was installing it in a house. And I'm going to run the detail sander here on speed 4. I'm going to run it at the highest speed along with that one, so that it's kind of apples to apples. You can see 4 bars, full charge, 2.5 amp hour high output battery. I'm going to run the same thing in that one as well. And since this is so rough, I'm going to go with the 80 grit of this Milwaukee sandpaper. We're going to put that on there. I'm going to run it for about 15 seconds and just see what it does. And we'll run that one for about 15 seconds, see what it does as well. We'll see if we can compare the two. But here we go. That may have been 20 seconds, but you can see, and that's another reason why I chose this, is that this board has at least some color on it right here. It's kind of knocked down the high ridges in that 20 seconds. And again, this would take a long time to sand. This is probably not a tool I would use this for, but I'm just trying to show you the difference between the two, if there is one. Again, I'm doing this test live. I'm not doing anything different about it. With this sander, I'm also going to run it in speed 12, which is the highest speed. Let me turn it on. Show you the 4 bars there, 2.5 amp hour. And I guess I probably need to run the 80 grit of this sandpaper on there, so that it's the same sandpaper, at least apples to apples with that. So I'm going to put that on there, and that way you also got kind of the same kind of surface area. And again, I'm going to run it for 15 seconds or so on this. We'll see if there's any difference between the two. We'll go with this. So as we rub that off and we come in a little close, I'm going to show you here that, in my opinion, Not a lot of different, but you will also notice while I was using this, I was kind of doing an orbital action. That's really the difference of what this does, and this is going to do that in a tight spot, whereas the other ones aren't. But you come in close, in all honesty, I think they're pretty similar in the fact of on this rough board right here. Now, whether or not you would end up getting some swirl marks or something like that, I'm going to scoot this over and go to a side that's a little bit more finished. We'll run both of them again for 15 seconds, and we'll see if that changes anything as far as for swirl marks or anything like that. So everything's going to be the same. I'm going to swap to the 120 on this side just because it's a little bit more finished, and we'll see if we get some swirl marks, anything like that. Same thing, speed 4. We're going to go with this, see what we get over here for 15 seconds. Now the same thing, 120 onto the oscillating tool. We're going to turn that on. Now here's maybe where you'll see the difference on this tool. Let me go ahead and unlock this and pull this out, get it a little bit closer. You can see this. This is the M12 side right here. I don't see any marks, anything at all inside of that, versus if I go over here, the smoothness is pretty much the same. You know, I rub my hand on that. I don't feel a difference between here and there. So it's sanding it smooth with the same 120 grit. But look at the difference of, can you see some little maybe marks and things like that. I don't know if you'll be able to pick that up on picture, but again, that's the difference between orbital action and then side to side action, and that's the difference between that detail sander and an oscillating tool. So yeah guys, that is the M12 detail sander. Again, the part number on that is 2531-20. If you do a lot of sanding, if you work in tight spots, if you want a quieter tool, a little bit smaller tool, you might want to look at investing into this over an oscillating tool because it's just probably, it's meant to do what it's meant to do. Those are meant to cut. They sell a sander attachment for it that allows you to sand with it. This is meant to sand. So if you're doing very much work like that, you might want to look into this. But if you don't do very much and you've already got that tool there, that might be the way that you want to go as well. But let me know in the comments below if you've got this tool, what you think about it. If you use an oscillating tool for sanding all the time, what you think about that as well. Interested to know y'all's feedback as well. But I hope this video is helpful in some way. You guys stay safe. Have a blessed day. See you on the next video.